I thought I added my. Okay, now you should be able to hear me. I added myself and then somehow it removed me. See, it keeps doing that. See, I'm not tripping. What the heck? Why, Lord? It's like it lets me in and then it kicks me out. Okay, I think I'm in. It's like it lets me in and then it kicks me out. Okay, I think I'm in. Okay, so good evening, y'all. It's RnBBae, of course, here for another one. Okay, so tonight we are going to touch on our schools again. So if you remember, I did this topic maybe a little over a week ago, and I was talking about, I thought I had it pulled up over here, but I don't. I was talking about how our kids in school, I think my mouse is just not liking me right now. Okay, so the this one here, I was talking about curriculum transparency, and I kind of went into what books are being removed from schools and how schools or the districts or the teachers who are affected by it are trying to make it seem as though this is a purposeful book banning and that it's being done in order. This is probably why. It's being done in order to. Always some type of technical difficulty with me. Okay. So today we are going to touch on more school things, more reasons that the schools are becoming unsafe for our kids, and what we should do about it. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, I have considered homeschooling my kids, just obviously as someone who does this research and who's seeing all of this that's going down, and I'm pretty scared from what I see. And I think that it's something that we all should kind of raise an eyebrow to, and that we all should be aware of and maybe a little fearful of. I just realized that I'm in the corner on the video and I don't want that. I don't know why tonight. Okay, there we go. Are you gonna take me back to where I was? Of course not. Okay. So I myself have certainly given some strong consideration and research into homeschooling my kids, and believe me, it's something that I plan to do in the near future. Um, and I think we all should. I think that's the only way that we're going to really be able to take the control back and to, have 100% say over what it is that our kids are learning. Um, hey, Josephine, thanks for being here. So I'm a little worried, and I had to push the showtime back. So for anyone who saw that it was scheduled for 10:30 and then it got pushed back, I am so sorry. But I was doing my research, and in my last sweep, I started to find a lot more, and I felt like I had to touch on it. I had to talk about it just because there's so much out there, and even in the course of this show, I feel like there's no way I can touch on everything, but I'm doing my best to definitely get everything that I found to be important and that I could reach within my time frame. So the first thing, seeing as though the Mother's Day just passed and Father's Day is coming up, I wanted to touch on was, of course, that's my thumbnail for my last show, and that's me. So I saw this when I was on IG randomly a couple weeks ago, like right before Mother's Day, and I thought it was really interesting. And I say interesting when I see something that's appalling that takes my attention, and that I'm just like, I can't even. So this was, like I said, right before Mother's Day, and happening in Canada. Mother's Day officially canceled in schools. So this was a letter that was sent out to parents via email. Hello, dear parents. Considering the heterogeneous nature of our students this year, we decided not to celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day. However, we would still like to acknowledge you by the end of the year. To do so, we will celebrate Parents' Day. Thank you for understanding, the second grade teachers. Oh, great. There was another page to that I clearly lost. But the point here is that, we already know where they're going with the whole idea here. We can't have anything that is gender specific anymore. So the this is even extended to Mother's Day and Father's Day, which is crazy because I mean, logic tells you to be a mother you have to have certain organs, and to be a father you have to have certain organs. So there really is no question about who is a mom and who is a dad. However, this is how diluted it has become. And again, yet another reason that it's about time for us to really, really consider taking our kids out of public schools. Hey, citizen man, how are you, love? Okay, so why should we take our kids out of public schools? Or why do I believe that our education system is more indoctrination than education? First article is school districts sued over a policy that allegedly punishes students for misgendering people. So there is a policy in a school district in Ohio that would punish students for calling another student the wrong gender, the gender that they wronged from what they identify with. It's like saying it is just so backwards and confusing. But if this person identifies as a girl and you call them a boy, or vice versa, there's going to be some punishment for that, which is crazy. A parents' rights organization is suing an Ohio school district over a policy that allegedly punishes students who intentionally misgender their peers. Parents Defending Education, or PDE, a parental rights organization, sued Olenganji local school district on Thursday on behalf of parents within the school system, stating that the district has warned that students who intentionally use pronouns different from other students' preferred pronouns are in violation. Its policies will be subject to disciplinary action. I'm wondering if they missed a word there. Are in violation of its policies and will be subject to disciplinary action. The district's personnel communication device policy prohibits students from using cell phones or from using their cell phone or laptop, whether on or off campus, to send any message that may be viewed as harassment of others based on their race, sex, gender identity, and political beliefs. So somehow they extended this policy to where when students are off campus as well. So they want to have say over what a student can say to another student, even when they're at home using their personal computer or cell phone. The district, though its attorneys allegedly confirmed to parents that its policies prohibit students from intentionally using the wrong pronouns when addressing someone or misgendering them, the lawsuit stated. This violation is subject to punishment, the district allegedly told parents. The harassment policies at Olentangy impinge on basic constitutional rights and are overbroad in a way that in a way that polices students' speech both inside and outside of the classroom. Carolyn Moore, vice president of PCE, told the Daily Caller News Foundation, "We feel deeply for what these students and their families have gone through day in and day out during their time in the district. We look forward to championing their First Amendment rights. Violations of the personal communication device may The personal communication devices may result in goodness, y'all know I can't read. May result in confiscation of a student's device and discipline ranging from a warning to expulsion depending on the nature of the incident, the policy stated. The anti-harassment policy prohibits any threatening, insulting, or dehumanizing speech, and violations of the order are subject to an investigation by the school board. Lest there be any doubt about the scope of the policies, the district's attorneys recently made clear that any student who purposefully refers to another student by using gendered language they know is contrary to the other student's identity will violate the district's policies and will be subject to punishment, the lawsuit stated. As a consequence, the children of PDE's members are forced to alter their speech by remaining silent or avoiding using sex-specific pronouns altogether. The school district's anti-harassment policy and personal communication devices policy violate the First Amendment and have caused individuals to self-censor out of fear of being punished for expressing their views, the lawsuit alleged. Moreover, the school district allegedly uses no contact orders on students who have been found in violation of district policies, the lawsuit stated. The orders are allegedly administered without a completed investigation into the incident. So, someone could accuse someone else of quote unquote violating the policy, and without any type of investigation, they would have to, adhere to the punishments of the policy. Fear of retaliation has caused the parents to advise their children to self-censor and not speak out about their beliefs, which oppose gender ideology, the lawsuit alleged. This has allegedly caused physical and emotional harm to the parents. Parent B's constant anxiety that Parent B's children will be subject to this harm has, in turn, caused Parent B emotional and psychological harm, the lawsuit alleged. For example, it has caused Parent B to question whether to instruct their children to follow their conscience and their religious faith or remain silent and affirm viewpoints contrary to their conscience and faith in order to preserve their opportunities for college, among other things. Olentangy's local school district did not immediately respond to the DCNF's request for comment. Now, there was another article that had everything pretty much verbatim, but this part at the end I wanted to add in because I thought this was kind of leads into something that I have talked about in the past. So the district's other actions send a clear message to students that only one view about gender identity is acceptable. It has pushed parents out of critical gender identity decisions of their children through its use of gender identity support plans for students whose biological gender does not align with their gender identity, which the district uses without the consent of their parents, the PDE said in a statement. The school district has also issued transgender guidelines that instruct teachers and other district officials to hide students' gender identity and preferred pronouns from the student's parents unless the minor student gives permission otherwise. So, on the first part of this show, the last curriculum transparency show, I talked about that, how there's so many policies that encourage teachers to keep these secrets from the parents. And the only way that they're allowed to speak about it is if they get direct consent from the children. According to PDE, the school district prioritizes discussions of gender identity over other issues, encourages teachers to ask about students' gender identities in class, has flags related to sexual orientation and gender identity plastered in hallways and classrooms beginning in kindergarten, encourages celebrating holidays including International Pronouns Day and International Transgender Day of Visibility, and prioritizes events sponsored by the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network. And what this does is that for children who naturally don't subscribe to any of this and who are, simply heterosexual children, they start to feel like they're too plain. They start to feel like there's nothing interesting about them. So they choose to subscribe to one of these gender identities. I'm sorry, not gender identities. Or it could be gender identities, it could be sexual orientations in order to fit in order to, be popular, be cool. Olentangy's harassment policy shows a deep contempt for the constitutional rights of its students and families, said Parents Defending Education Vice President Carolyn Moore. Public schools cannot force students to speak in a way that supports a viewpoint contrary to their deeply held beliefs, nor may schools follow students home to police their speech at all. I'm sorry, I thought that was the end. No period there. At all hours of the day on their personal devices. But Olentangy has enacted a series of overboard anti harassment policies under the guise of inclusivity that flout basic constitutional rights, both in and outside of the classroom. The lawsuit asked the court to declare that Olentangy's harassment provisions violate the First and 14th Amendments, as well as to enjoin the district from enforcing the harassment provisions, from punishing speech about gender identity or compelling speech to affirm another person's identity, and from pursuing students for speech occurring off school grounds that is not for or during a school sponsored activity. So it's like they're finding a way to violate these kids' First Amendment rights, just like everything else, right? They it's like they get their foot in the door so that they can use that power to leak into other things. So now, if they're able to enforce this policy and infringe on these students' First Amendment rights, then what is that going to lead to? Because as we all know, it never stops there. It never stops with, the first step into the craziness that we see. Dang, I was there already. Okay, so just a little tidbit. This is kind of off topic, but I'm sure we all have seen and heard about this. And I thought it was funny because they say Adidas launches women's swimsuit, but the model showing off the Pride 2023 costume appears to be a man. And so, yeah, I corrected that. It is a man. I don't know why they felt the need to say appears to be, because we all can see the bulge. Adidas features male modeling women's swimsuit. Adidas received backlash for featuring a male model in a women's swimsuit advertisement. The advertisement features a male modeling a one-piece swimsuit by South African designer Rich Menenzi and part of the company's Adidas X Rich Menenzi Pride collection, which is described as a celebration of self-expression, imagination, and the unwavering belief that love unites. Okay. So, seeing a man in a woman's swimsuit is a celebration of self expression, imagination, and the unwavering belief that love unites. Love unites what? His balls and his dick that are clearly touching because he's wearing a fucking woman's swimsuit? Sorry. Oh, God. Anyway, the women's swimsuit advertisement features images of the male model facing front and in profile, appearing to highlight his genitalia. We're all unique, but we're connected by love, reads the product's description. Adidas partnership is part of an effort to honor the that community alongside their global purpose partner athlete ally. Critics panned the advertisement for featuring a male bulge. Yeah, yeah, that is a problem. That is pretty unnerving. I don't understand why companies are voluntarily doing this to themselves. This was a tweet. Oh, yeah. Riley Gaines. We've been talking about her a lot. I don't understand why companies are voluntarily doing this to themselves, wrote former college championship swimmer Riley Gaines. They could have at least said the swimsuit is unisex, but they didn't because it's about erasing women. Ever wonder why we hardly see this going the other way? Women's swimsuits aren't accessorized with a bulge. And she's right. You know, as we've seen, and I believe myself also, this is about erasing women. And yeah, we don't, not that I've seen, because with all of this going on with Dylan, whatever, who's Mulaney, who's all over everything, and all of these men dressing up as women, putting on woman face, you really hardly ever see a woman doing this with a man. And part of it, when we refer in reference to sports, of course, is that a woman knows, I mean, you'd have to be an idiot not to know that if they were try to step into the male space, sports wise, they would be demolished. They would be, you know, injured first day. Like, there's no way they'd be able to stand up, even the strongest woman, against the weakest man. And so, if we know that going that way, why is that not represented going from a man, when a man goes into women's spaces? Because it's still the same thing. It's just that there's one man as opposed to a whole team of them. Sponsors of the ad noted conservatives are losing their minds. I don't think the conservatives are the ones losing their minds. Adidas launched a new women's swimwear range. A new women's swimwear range for the brand's Pride collection, featuring male models, and conservatives are losing their mind. Again, conservatives are not the ones losing their mind. Okay. And moving along. So before I get into this article, I did want to, because we're getting back into the school stuff, which obviously is the real topic tonight, but I did want to touch on, I'm just going to play the audio for this video that I found that, well, I'll just play it and then I'll talk about it a little more. So all of this is happening, right? And obviously we are on the outside looking in, but talking and hearing things from someone who is in the midst of it and what they think about it, I think is even more compelling. So this is a girl. Oh God. This is a girl and her opinion on, I'm just going to play the sound because, oh goodness, I can't pause it. Okay. I'm just going to play the sound because I can't get the video up, but obviously what she's saying is really what's important. So just listen up. This is an 18-year-old girl, high school student.
Only ladies and gentlemen it is and shall always be. I am Hello ladies and gentlemen, and only ladies and gentlemen it is and shall always be. I am an 18-year-old high school student and wanted to take this time to bring to your attention the current issue with biological men claiming they are women and in turn truly believing that they are entitled to use women's spaces. Firstly, the question we must address is why are we affirming the mental confusion of this boy and putting the safety of women in jeopardy by allowing mentally confused men to use the women's spaces? Of course, any male who claims he is a woman will accept it. But what about the women? What about the true girls like myself who are female down to our DNA? Why don't we ever get a say in whether or not we are comfortable with this? The truth is, we aren't. The majority of us aren't, and yet nothing has been done to protect the safety of these women. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and only ladies.
Okay. And you can hear how impassioned she gets. And it's a bit ridiculous that, she even has to get up there to advocate for herself because all of these administrators and teachers are supposed to be there and out for the best interest of our kids. However, they clearly are not. And that's one example of, like I said, someone who is in the midst of all of this and who doesn't agree with it. And of course she doesn't agree with it because she's personally affected. She is a girl biologically, and she has to deal with these little boys who are being allowed to come into her spaces. And as we've seen many times, they're coming in with malintent. They're coming in to hurt these girls. And no one is saying anything. And it's the part that boggles my mind the most is that the catchphrase is always, you know, these transgender people are protected. They need to be, they are a protected group. But we're not, they're men, right? They're men and boys. And we're not protecting the women and girls who are being affected and who are not being asked for consent, who are not being asked, you know, what they feel or if they're comfortable or what have you. This is being forced on them. And when they dare to speak out, they're transphobic, they are bigots, and it's utterly ridiculous. So, again, what are we really allowing when we send our kids to school nowadays? What are we setting them up for? Here's another story. New Hampshire legislator votes against requiring schools to tell parents about students' gender transition. And this is a huge problem because they are finding a way to drive a wedge between us and our kids. And they've been doing this forever. This didn't just start with the transgender movement. Okay, just making sure. The New Hampshire House voted against a bill that would have required schools to inform parents if their children elect to go by alternative names or pronouns that do not match their biological sex. The Senate Bill 272, known as the Parents' Bill of Rights, failed following a 195 to 190 vote on May 18th. The policy was indefinitely postponed and cannot be taken up for the remainder of the legislative season. If enacted, the policy would have required schools to establish a consent mechanism for parents to be notified of information relating to the health, well-being, and educational progress of their minor children, while those children are in the custody and control of public schools. Ultimately, New Hampshire House Democrats attached multiple poison pill amendments to SB 272 in order to weaken the bills, reports PBS. The bill was passed by the state's Republican-led Senate in March. Advocates of the policy said the requirement would strengthen families and parent-child relationships. State Senator Dan Innes, an openly gay man and a Republican, said in the debate before his chamber's vote that if a student is visibly transitioning at school or is visibly gay, parents should be informed by teachers. I think this bill will create a situation where it's less likely that a student will be outed by his or her peers and more likely that it will happen in a way that supports the child, he said in March. I can tell you at age 13, I too was very confused, and parental support would have been very helpful. Parents who ask such questions likely already suspect that their children are having problematic issues in this area. So this bill is not an effort to quote unquote out such students, wrote Republican Representative Arlene Quartatiello in her remarks that were published ahead of the vote. Per Boston 25. It is rather an effort to empower a partnership between parents and teachers to most effectively help vulnerable children navigate complicated situations that may involve life-altering decisions. Opponents argued requiring schools to tell parents about their children's decisions regarding their names and gender would violate constitutional privacy rights and increase bigotry. Bigotry from their parents? That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. State Senator Donovan Fenton, a Democrat, said the bill would further drive the transphobic and homophobic narrative that has begun to infiltrate our state from national interest groups. Again, we're talking about informing children's parents, and they're arguing that it would drive transphobic and homophobic narrative. That again makes no sense. The point is to protect these kids. The point is to make sure that they're supported in every way that's needed. So how is telling their parents that they are choosing to engage in something that could possibly be dangerous or, irrevocably change their futures, cause them to experience transphobia or homophobia? It's crazy. The attacks and targeting of the LGBTQ community has increased across the country, and New Hampshire is no exception to that, said Fenton after the Senate 14-10 vote per Fox. Yeah, so if those things are increasing, wouldn't it protect the child more for their parent to know that they are engaging in, that they are attaching themselves to these groups that allow them to be targeted? I mean, if a parent doesn't know that her son is socially transitioning at school and wearing makeup and a dress, and then he's targeted as part of that community, there's no way that they could anticipate that happening. There's no way that they could even try to protect their son because they didn't know it was happening. So keeping these secrets from parents are not keeping these kids safe at all. Citizen Man said that's what predators do, instruct their victims to keep it a secret. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The schools want to keep these things a secret, and that's the easiest way for them to keep their victims under their thumb. Teacher under, and it gets better, guys, it gets better. Teacher under investigation for showing LGBTQ themed movie to fifth graders says parents' rights are gone when your child is in public school. This teacher just put it all out there. Just so you know, your kid is in school and your rights are gone, said this teacher. Wow. Fifth grade teacher in Florida who is under investigation for showing her students an LGBTQ themed Disney movie, has claimed that those those rights are gone when your child is in the public school system. The teacher, Jenna Barbie, made the comments during a CNN appearance on Tuesday. Barbie, a first-year educator at Winding Waters. Sorry, guys, I have not been zooming in on the article. Sorry. Barbie, a first-year educator, that should be better, at Winding Waters K-8 school in Brooksville, was reported after showing the movie Strange World, which features an openly gay character, on May 3rd. A letter to parents after the movie showing, the school district said the matter was under review. Yesterday, the Disney movie Strange World was shown in your child's classroom, the school district said. While not the main plot of the movie, parts of the story involves a male character having and expressing feelings for another male character. In the future, this movie will not be shown. The school administration and the district's professional standards department is currently reviewing the matter to see if further corrective action is required. Barbie is under investigation by the school and the state's education department. On Saturday, Barbie posted a TikTok video explaining that she had been reported for indoctrination by a parent who is also a Hernando County School Board member. This is the public education system where students from all backgrounds, cultures, and religions are welcomed and should be celebrated and represented. I am not and never would indoctrinate anyone to follow my beliefs, Barbie said. But you did. I will, however, always be a safe person to come to that spreads a message of kindness, positivity, and compassion for everyone. What about the kids who don't believe in that? What about the kids who feel very uncomfortable about watching something like that in their classroom? Are you a safe space for them? Did you even consider how they might feel about that? Barbie spoke at the school board meeting last week and confronted the parent who reported her school board member Shannon Rodriguez. Rodriguez held firm in her position, accusing the teacher of stripping the innocence of her 10-year-old child. It is not a teacher's job to impose their beliefs upon a child, religious, sexual orientation, gender identity, any of the above, Rodriguez said. Allowing movies such as this assists teachers in opening a door for conversations that have no place in our classrooms. Absolutely. Rodriguez added, as a leader in this community, I'm not going to stand by and allow this minority to infiltrate our schools. Appearing on CNN, Barbie said that your rights as a parent, those rights are gone when your child is in the public school system. And it's teachers like that are a problem. I honestly feel like just for making that statement, she should be fired. And she should not be able to get she should not be able to get another job teaching, because that tells you that she does not care about indoctrinating our kids. She does not care about teaching and showing them things that we don't agree with. And she really doesn't care what we think about what she teaches our kids. So what that says is that as a educator of our kids and as somebody whose salary is paid by our tax dollars, you no longer qualify for that role. As a taxpayer, I say you're fired. And we're not done. Let's keep going because there's more. Amy Schumer, Charlize Theron, Jesse Eisenberg appear in Drag Isn't Dangerous telethon to protest laws against performing for children. So as we all know, there have been more and more laws coming out banning children from drag shows, because obviously drag shows are sexualized entertainment. And these actors, actresses, public figures, started a telethon to protest those laws. And these are all the celebrities that were a part of the telethon. Adam Lambert, I don't know all these names, but a couple of them stuck out to me when I was reading. And so these are the people that we should be boycotting, whose, music, or look, Kelly Osbourne. These are people who we should not be giving any of our money. Leslie Jones, Lonnie Love, Sarah Silverman. These are people who, Tiffany Haddish, should be banned. This list right here should be the people who are getting canceled. Since this is cancel culture, all of these people need to be canceled, because they're basically saying it's okay to sexualize your kids because it's not dangerous for them to see, a man with his dick and balls hanging out dancing for our kids. Why not? Let them go. Appearing alongside dozens of drag queens were Adam Lambert, Melissa McCarthy, Amber Tamblyn, Tampa Mayor Jane Castor, Billy Einhart, Joey McTire, Sarah Silverman, Kelly Osbourne, David Cross, Lance Bass, Leslie Jones, Mandy Moore, Whitney Cummings, and many more. For her part, Theron claimed that watching drag makes you happier and a better person. How's that? New. Charlize Africa's message on Drag Isn't Dangerous telethon fundraiser to support drag performers amidst recent anti-LGBTQ legislation. The event was also protesting laws against sex change procedures for minors. Right. So it doesn't stop with us being able to shake our dicks in front of your kids. No. We want to allow them to be able to cut theirs off too, no matter how young they are. The younger, the better. According to the ACLU, there are currently 467 bills in the United States legislature targeting the Alphabet Soup community. Many seek to ban drag on public property as well as any locations where individual under the age of 18 could be present. The event website states a significantly more dangerous series of bills are the ones seeking to ban age appropriate medically necessary care to transgender youth under the age of 18. Several states. That's weird. I don't think that was supposed to end like that. The event promised a mix of live and pre-tape performances, appearances, and testimonials from drag artists and Alphabet Soup entertainers and celebrity allies, as well as a live celebrity phone bank accepting callers' donations. Speaking during the event, musician Adam Lambert claimed that laws regarding children could be used to target and punish people in our community. And there they go. We're targeting and punishing people in your community by saying that, the things that you're showing are not age appropriate for kids. So let's make it 18 and over. That's targeting and punishing people in your community because you want to be able to shake your dicks in front of kids' faces, right? These laws can be very easily manipulated. He tweeted, "These laws can be very easily manipulated in order to target and punish people in our community. So let's come together and protect our drag entertainers." That line right there kind of sent me over the top because, as I said earlier, right, their goal is always to protect these drag people, these transgender people. However, no, they never consider the people that they are victimizing by allowing these things to happen. So we're in this situation, we're quote unquote protecting drag entertainers while victimizing children, right? And then with the transgender people going into women's spaces, we're protecting their rights while victimizing women, right? It's ridiculous. And these are grown ass men. Silverman argued that the Second Amendment puts the drag community in danger. How's that? The nerve of these disingenuous policies is unfathomable. Unfathomable, Silverman said. The number one killer of children is guns. These NRA pawns deflect it with a completely fabricated problem that puts the drag community in danger. The hypocrisy is astounding. So again, they say something over the top and outlandish that, you kind of question, is it true, is it not? And then it makes you feel like if it is true and I don't agree with it, then, does that make me a bad person? However, it's utterly ridiculous because one thing has nothing to do with the other. But they're shifting blame, and as per usual, they're playing the victim. But it doesn't stop there, unfortunately. Did I skip one? Oh, yeah. I don't know how that happened. Yeah. Okay. So back to the schools. Nearly 25% of high school students claim they are gay, bi, or questioning their sexuality. Why is that, you may ask? Nearly 25% of high school students claim to be on the LGBTQ spectrum, more than double the percentage who said the same in 2015. Not even 10 years ago. Just 75.5% of 14 to 18-year-olds said that they are heterosexual, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's biannual youth report for 2021. Of those surveyed, 12.1% said they are bisexual, 3.2% said they are gay. Additionally, 3.9% chose other, and 5.2% questioned their sexuality. The percentage of students who do not view themselves as straight has more than doubled in recent years, from 11% in 2015 to 24.5% in 2021. The report noted that rates of alternative sexualities in minors are much higher than in adults. Roughly 7%, roughly 7% of adults identify as LGBTQ. The CDC also found that minors who identify as LGBTQ have significantly more mental health issues. Of course they do. I mean, they're literally denying who they are and saying that because their brain feels one way, that they are that way. Which I always thought, I always wondered, right? If a man says he feels like a woman, it's like, how? That's my question. How? How do you feel like something that you've never been, never known, never felt? How? What is it to feel like a woman? Because I would like to know. More than half of female high schoolers who identify as bisexual have seriously considered attempting suicide, and 40% who identified as bisexual. Hmm? And 40% who identified as bisexual. That sounds weird. I don't know. That's a very weird statement. This is compared to 20% of heterosexual female students, the report said. A staggering 26% more than 1 in 4 bisexual students attempted suicide. Among male minors, bisexuals were 40% more likely to consider suicide, the rate being 35% among gay teens. 1 in 10 heterosexual teens considered suicide. 5% attempted suicide, compared to 20% of gay teens and 17% of bisexual males. These students are also more likely to be victims of sexual abuse. I mean, which makes sense, right? Because to identify as bisexual, gay, or what have you, those are all sexual identities. They're literally centered around what you want to do with your genitals. So it would make sense that, and it's sad to say, but it's like they're putting themselves in a sexual category very early before they've even given themselves time to figure out what it is they like or don't like. Most of these kids have never even had sex, heterosexual sex, and they're identifying as bisexual or gay or what have you. As I said before, simply to fit in, simply to do what they think is cool. Remember in like the 90s and 2000s when smoking was cool and people would like sneak out of school and hide behind the bleachers to smoke cigarettes? And I mean, obviously, we all know now how detrimental that is to your health, but it was the cool thing to do, and all the cool kids did it. So people would try it, you know? And this is no different. All of this sexual identity, all of this alphabet soup crap is being thrown and pushed in our kids' faces. As the other article said, there are flags all throughout the school plastered on the walls for one sexual identity or the other. And so they're surrounded by these things. And so, yeah, it's too white bread to just be a heterosexual person these days. You know, they want to seem a little interesting. They want to seem like they got, a little more flavor. So I'm not just straight, I'm bisexual. These students are more likely to be victims of sexual abuse. The CDC found that students who identify as bisexual and students who have sexual contact with both sexes violence experience violence victimization at higher rates. Okay. Jay Richard, a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, told the paper that the US sees much higher numbers of minors identifying as alphabet soup than other parts of the world. He believes that the boom is created in part by the rise of gender studies in schools. Another factor is the increased focus on social justice, making children want to seem less normal. Right. So again, because we're putting such a magnifying glass on these communities, and because we are pushing this whole, you know, um, be who you are crap, the kids don't want to seem normal. They don't want to feel what they believe to be normal. They want to be cool and do something a little more. There are social initiatives to declaring yourself as a sexual minority. There is nothing you have to do to be bisexual. You could just want to make yourself cooler. And there it is. And that's exactly what's happening. I mean, I've seen it myself. I've seen I don't even know how I did that. Oh, the CDC data comes from surveying 232 students in 150 schools across 45 states. And what I was saying is, I've seen it myself. I've seen kids that, you know, are too young to really know what they want, what sex they're attracted to, and have never had, again, like I said, heterosexual sex, as they should not because they're kids. But they're coming out as bisexual, they're coming out as gay. And it's like, my first question is, how do you know? How do you know that when you've never done anything? And they think they know because in these in this quote unquote social justice, right? They will show and tote the mentality of what it takes for you to fall into these categories as the most benign things. Like, I saw a reel the other day of someone asking a transgender, a boy who was identifying as a girl, how he knew that he was a girl. And he said that he felt like a girl. And they said, well, how do you know that? And he said, I look in the mirror and I don't feel like myself. I look in the mirror and I don't connect with what I see. And so the person goes, well, how do you know that that makes you bisexual? I mean, how do you know that that makes you a woman? And he goes, well, that's what they told me. That's what they told me it takes in order for me to meet those qualities that means that I should identify as a woman. So the response was, so you need someone to tell you what it is or what you are. And that's more happening more often than not. These kids are being targeted at a time in their lives when their identity is still a little fluid. They're a lot more malleable, and older people in their lives, teachers, administrators, what have you, are sparking that thought of, well, maybe this is really what you are. You like to play with dolls when you were 4 years old. Oh, you know what? That means that you identify as a girl. No, it means that you're a curious kid. It means that maybe you had an older sister who had a bunch of old dolls laying around and you found something to do with them. And then that doesn't even touch on the fact that, what is it, over 40% of kids who identify as having gender dysphoria grow out of it. So that's a whole other beast. And speaking of which, speaking of gender dysphoria, speaking of transgender, there's always this idea of why. Why are our kids being targeted? Why has this become such a hot topic, and why is this something that they want to talk about and spread in schools? And why are drag queens getting pissed off that they can't have kids at their drag shows? Well, here's a theory. Once you understand that their God, quote unquote, is transgender, you start to understand why they are indoctrinating your kids, because they are making this a norm so that the kids will accept this more easily. Speaking of transgenders, we all have seen this idiot in Biden's administration, or I'm sorry, it used to be in Biden's uh, ex-Biden official Sam Brinton arrested again as fugitive from justice. And this is just laughable. Like, why? Sam Brinton, the former senior Department of Energy official, was arrested as a fugitive from justice from Maryland police on Wednesday. According to county records reviewed by Fox News Digital, Brinton was taken into custody in Roxville, Maryland. A police spokesperson said Thursday The arrest was led by Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Police, which is the lead law enforcement for both Washington, D.C. area airports. Montgomery County Police assisted in the arrest of Sam Britton. Sierra Geoff of Montgomery County Police Department spokesperson told Fox News Digital, the Metropolitan Washington Airports, if I could read it would really help. The Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Police are lead on this. The arrest comes a month after Britton escaped jail time in two separate cases in Nevada and Minnesota involving luggage thefts. He was the one that stole the luggage of this poor woman and then was seen at an event wearing her clothing. Britton faced up to 15 years total for the two alleged thefts. However, in both cases, the presiding judges ruled jail time wasn't necessary. In addition, female Tanzanian fashion designer based in Houston accused Britton in February of wearing her custom designs that were packed in a luggage she reported missing in 2018. Houston police referred that case to the FBI. And that's from Snowflake News. Okay, so the reason I touched on their transgender god was to lead into this one here. And this, I will play this video for you guys first. Just give me 1 second. So this is about the after-school Satan Club that was started in a Pennsylvania school and allowed, obviously. Okay, so I'm going to have to play it from my phone, so it's going to be a little janky here. Actually, no, I'll just do this. Oh, I think I had it open already. Okay, sound's not on. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Let me try this again. Can never just be easy. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Can never just be easy. Hear all that clicking? That's work. Okay. So let's go back here. Hear all that clicking? That's work. Okay. So let's go back here. So if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe. You can find me on IG at RnBBae. So if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe. You can find me on IG at and also on Rumble as RnBBae. Okay, I think I might have
Federal
got
judge
it,
has just ordered Pennsylvania school district to allow after-school Satan club. After-school Satan clubs are now gaining popularity all over the United States, Ohio, North Carolina, and now Pennsylvania. Temple of Satan entering all of this.
Okay, I'm just gonna do that. That's the easiest way. Okay, this is it. Third time is the charm. Here we go.
Federal judge has just ordered Pennsylvania School District to allow after-school Satan Club. After-school Satan clubs are now gaining popularity all over the United States. Ohio, North Carolina, and now Pennsylvania. Temple of Satan is sponsoring all of this, and you can go on their website and check out their handbook that they're teaching little kids. They're now looking to move into high schools. They're going to have student-led after-school Satan clubs. What do you guys think about it? Federal judge has just ordered Pennsylvania School District to allow after-school Satan Club. After-school Satan clubs are now gaining popularity all over the United States. Ohio, North Carolina, and now Pennsylvania. Temple of Satan is sponsoring all of this, and you can go on their website and check out their handbook that they're teaching little kids. They're now looking to move into high schools. They're going to have student-led after-school Satan clubs. What do you guys think about it? Federal judge has just ordered Pennsylvania.
Okay, I think 2 is quite enough. Okay, so it's disturbing enough, right? Just the fact that they have a club dedicated to worshiping Satan. And I mean, I'm sure we all remember that this one, right? Yes, that God was taken out of school a long time ago. Kids are not allowed to pray in schools. Kids are not allowed to have their Bible that they could bring from home and read it in school, but they're allowed to have a whole club dedicated to teaching Satan and how to worship. And so from that video, I have a couple of screenshots just of the most disturbing images, like this one here. Student-led after-school Satan Club. And these are little kids. Like, talk about indoctrination. My goodness. And we have them sitting in a circle with the symbols in the middle of the floor and on the walls. Like, what are we allowing to be done to our kids? And look how many of them there are in the room. Like, for kids to be this young, they definitely had to get a permission slip sent home. So parents had to have signed off on this. How is that okay? What? It's disturbing as all hell. Look at this. And again, a bunch of kids in here, young kids. These are elementary school age kids. And they don't know what's going on. They're just going to accept it. If this is not indoctrination, I don't know what it is. And that all goes back to the whole transgender movement because, again, their God is transgender. They're normalizing this for the kids to make it easier for them to swallow, easier for them to accept. More kids sitting in a circle. Look at that one. They had help. Somebody helped them put on this makeup. And this is like, this just kind of ties it all together in a beautiful little bow. And I'm sorry, disturbing bow. Because as I said, right, their God is transgender. So they're pushing and normalizing this. And then you see this image of, Satan sitting in the middle of the kids reading with the horns, the multiple horns coming off. Now, is that really very different than this one? This one is the full picture. They're transgender, and they have the horns, and they have the demonic makeup. This doesn't look like what a drag queen normally typically wears. When do you see a drag queen with horns coming out of their head? They're normalizing this for our kids. So there is no way you can sit here and convince me that This is not indoctrination. Our kids are not learning anything sitting in that room. I don't care what that book says. I can guarantee you that those kids are not even listening to the book. They're looking at this person wondering why they have horns coming out of their head. Why am I listening to a man in a dress with makeup on and everything else? So this is not education. This is indoctrination. And the lesson here is that if we as parents don't take over and get our control back in order to be and ensure that our kids are learning and being educated, where they're going to be lost. This generation is going to be lost. The time is absolutely now. And it gets worse every day. We have to do something, guys. We really, truly have to do something about our kids. Homeschooling is not as hard as you think. And I know that, of course, if you're working full time, how on earth can you possibly homeschool your kids? Well, that's why you have to build a community with people that you know and trust. Find the parents who are home and who do have the availability and who can start homeschooling classes in your neighborhoods. At least this will be with someone that you know and trust, someone that you can reach, someone that you can say, okay, my child needs help with this, or I would really like if they learn this, or what have you. But the school system is lost. And the longer that we allow our kids to stay, the longer that we allow our kids to be more and more ingrained and indoctrinated, the harder it's going to be for us to reach them once we do finally decide enough is enough. Again, the time is now. And my goal, my role, my goal, no other way to state it, is to protect our kids. And if you watch any of my content, you know and understand that that is all I'm about. And I'm just stressing how important it is to do something now before it becomes any worse. So that's my rant. That's all I had for you guys tonight. And I'm going to leave you with that, with this disturbing ass image. And this is what they want to continue having the right to do to our kids. And that they will fight for their right to indoctrinate our kids. We can't let it keep happening. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for the 2 viewers who were with me and stayed the whole time. Thank you, thank you. And that's it. I am going to leave you guys with that. So have a great night, and I will see you on the next one.